Hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight Venom here, bringing you my review for My Hero Academia Chapter 220. And, okay, so right off the bat, I don't normally talk about the very first page, because I usually like to address the broader story as a whole in my reviews, but damn, that first page of basically seeing, it was from Shig Araki holding out his hand, and the series title card cracking, was definitely one of the best introductions to a My Hero Academia chapter I've seen in a while. In fact, it even gets me hyped for when we get to the end game of the series and what kind of a badass that we're gonna step what kind of badass that from Shig Araki himself is gonna eventually become. Like, it's, and obviously it's a way it's. And obviously, like, the other thing to take away from just this first page of basically Shigaraki, him dusting the title card is just his basically fun way of playing off the chapter's title too. Because yeah, the chapter's title is called my Villain Academia, which yeah is kind of a if you couldn't already tell if you couldn't already tell by the title, this chapter was expressly focused on the League of Villains, which in many respects I actually like it when the series does this, even more when it focuses on the protagonists and our heroes. Because I feel that the real magic of Horikoshi's series is when he does like shift focus on the villains, because Horikoshi, like I said, Horikoshi has some kind of magic to him where he can make the villains even more sympathetic, if not more. He can make the villains almost just as sympathetic, if not more so, than the heroes, and that goes for like, I'm not saying he does this with all of them, but he definitely succeeds with the good majority of the antagonists in the series, and how he writes them in such a way where the villains end up carrying the story almost as much as the heroes do. And in this case, we basically see how much the alliance with the Eight Precepts falling apart, and basically Kurogiri even getting locked up were actually starting to affect the league as a whole, like basically losing, like pretty much, and especially on the aspect of ending up having to lose even Kurogiri. You can kind of see it really just shows just how much how much of a key part of the league if he was, and only because we basically see of how far the League of Villains has fallen, and how much more of a vulnerable state that the league as a whole is in right now. Like I'd argue that the league is even more vulnerable now than they ever were before. Which also makes the whole thing with Giganto all the more understandable now. But weirdly, like, but the biggest takeaway for me with basically seeing the league in this very vulnerable state for me is that is that when we see them getting kicked down so much, it almost makes me want them. It suddenly makes me want them to succeed and grow stronger as a group now. Like, as weird as it is, like I've always kind of liked the League of Villains, but now with this chapter, it actually makes me want. It makes me want to see them actually succeed, even if it's gonna end up being bad for pretty much for all the protagonists of the series. Like, yeah, this is like the first. Yeah, I think this is the first time when I'm reading a manga where I've wanted to see like the villains actually become stronger and become like a legitimate threat to. And a legitimate force that can actually oppose our heroes. So, yeah, So it was good on that for sure. And now that we got more context on the conflict between the League and basically Giganto, it does make me want them to grow stronger for sure, which I'm hoping has happened. And oh boy. and oh boy howdy, I'm not gonna lie, pretty much getting introduced to basically to pretty much that cult in the beginning of this chapter. I think it was basically they were named the pretty much CRC cult or something like that. Like just the CRC cult as a concept, just a concept alone, had me rolling on the floor and laughing my ass off because, you know what? Hell, I'll just say it. Pretty much the CRC, it feels like the CRC pretty much feels like an outright representation of how overly politicized that religion in general has gotten nowadays. Like, and it's not this, and I can almost, and considering what happened with, and considering what basically Spinner was talking about in this chapter, I almost feel that was intentional, but I'm not gonna say for sure. But yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, wow, Horikoshi actually went there. Like, he actually went in a bit of a, he actually went there. Like, holy crap! It's really kind of, it's hilarious in some ways, but it's also kind of dark in others. If you think of it's a little bit of dark humor almost in a way. And yeah, like it's a little bit of dark humor in the sense where or you just kind of gotta have to laugh at almost how true it kind of is in a way, at how true that the representation probably is in a way, and yeah, and like I said, that little confrontation with the cult of the CRC, it leads to. And actually, some really interesting development and characterization for pretty much Spinner of all people, which, I'll be honest, even in the past arcs of the series, I've always thought that of Spinner as just that basically villain who is cosplaying as Stain, and could never really take him 100% seriously. But here, we actually get a lot more depth from just how much he idolizes Stain. Of how and why he idolizes Stain so much, and to be honest, after this chapter, it was just this one chapter, but already I have to say that Spinner is probably the most heroic out of all the League. Like, in many respects, if he wasn't a part of the League of Villains, I almost feel that pretty much Spinner could in fact be a really great hero. So it's like, yeah, when you really look at his, when you really look at his at what he hopes to accomplish by pretty much being like Stain, you really start to realize that even on the side of the villains, it has done some that even if it's on the side of villains, that Stain himself has had such an influence on the world at large that he's actually started to affect villains in such a way where they want to do some actual good, even if they're villains. Which, yeah, it's some really great characterization for basically Spinner for sure. And again, this coming from a guy who this all coming from a guy who I've never really taken seriously. I've never really taken absolutely seriously until now for some reason. Like after this chapter, I do got to give Spinner his absolute props. I really do. Now, like I said, when we learn what led up to the League being confronted by the big guy of Gigantomachia in this chapter, well, now, like I said, we learned what led up to the League being confronted by the character of who was Gigantomachia in this chapter, which is that it was all one big test. And for me, in terms of this whole thing of seeing the League being tested by this big guy, it really feels almost a necessity at this point that basically the League end up gaining his support and allegiance. Otherwise, I think the League otherwise, like, this is kind of an end-all be-all situation for the league for me. Like, they pretty much have to gain his allegiance, otherwise they're gonna end up dying either way. Because we have to remember that the Liberation Army is also in the wings as well. We also get informally reintroduced to who I can only assume is the Doctor who helped All for One, and I really hope at this point that we're nearing a point where we're going to learn more about this Doctor guy, because there have been thousands of theories about him, but we've never really gotten anything concrete yet. So yeah, here's hoping we actually learn something about him. But yeah, guys, that's my review. If you've enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and you listen to Crunchyroll. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.